This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to INCRadio on another lovely weekend. I'm Taylor Joy Lagpagan from the local congregation of Temecula Valley.
And I'm Lorraine Lubang from the local congregation of El Cajon.
And you are tuned into INCRadio
San Diego.
Thank you for joining us. It is a beautiful Saturday morning here in San Diego. And Lorraine, achoo. Achoo. Oh no. I think we have allergies.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we need to learn more about allergies, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people tuning in right now would probably benefit from learning about allergies since it is that season. So for our show today, we are going to be talking about seasonal allergies. Sneezy does it, as we've been saying. So if you would like to gain some tips on how we can manage our allergies this season, be sure to stay tuned. And before we jump into that discussion, as always, be sure to like this video on YouTube and subscribe to the INCRadio YouTube channel if you have not already done so. And while you're at it, be sure to share this link to view our show today with your friends and family so they can also benefit from our discussion. And is there any way people can actually be involved in our show today, Lorraine?
Yes, they can leave us comments. We love comments. So leave a comment using these local shout out names.
Yeah, there you go.
And stay tuned towards the end of our show to hear last week's broadcast local shout out challenge winner.
There you go. You found
Got
it. You good. All right. Without further ado, let's jump into our discussion. Sneezy does it. We do have a very special in-studio guest with us today, a professional who's going to be talking to us about allergies, how we can identify allergy symptoms, and how, of course, we can manage them and make our lives a little bit easier this season. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Brother Brian.
I'll just walk in here.
Yes. Hello, Brian. How are you today?
Doing all right. How's everyone doing?
Good. Very excited to learn a little bit from you. As we can, I think people can probably piece together, you are a medical professional. But in case anyone hasn't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and tell everyone what your professional background is?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's an excellent opportunity to talk about allergies. But hey, y'all, those tuning in, my name is Brian Gutierrez, originally from Nashville City, California. So I'll be an incoming internal medicine preliminary resident physician in New York City.
Nice.
And some of my background as well, I did my master's and bachelor's at UCSD, University of California, San Diego.
Okay, it's in this district.
It is. So, that's my alma mater. This is where I'm from. But, I've been traveling around. So part of my medical training, I was in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. So I served some time over there and learning the healthcare system there, but also taking it to New Orleans, Louisiana. So that was in the South Central States, just to finish off my clinicals and to be a part of, the population, the community there, especially, it being the least healthiest state. So I just wanted to be a part of that initiative as well.
Louisiana?
Yeah, Louisiana. So that's where all the gumbo, the crawfish, and all the good food, number one food place now in the world. Believe it or not, they ranked it this year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And also I'm a, fitness trainer by trade. I've been doing it for 5 years, but I'm a big advocate for movement and quality of life and just to keep on moving.
What's your favorite type of physical activity that you like to do?
Oh, it's a broad spectrum of things that I've been doing and jumping around. So I've been doing some Olympic weightlifting, mixed martial arts for the past 3-4 years. But, I'm a bit more functional when it comes to movements. So translating movements to everyday life, because in reality, just knowing how to pick up something properly, reach for something above your head or just carrying something, just the simple movements, but not necessarily throwing weights around or anything like that, because that's not
Yeah.
going to be practical. So.
True. I don't do that every day.
No.
Clearly. What about you?
Yeah, I got some. I got some.
You got it.
Alright.
I like it. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Brother Brian. Before we jump into some questions with you, do you want to maybe start off
Yes.
the discussion with the live chat?
Yeah, we have a few of trivia questions.
Trivia questions today.
So our first question is, what time of the day are pollen levels usually the highest? A, morning, B, afternoon, or C, evening?
That's an interesting one.
Mhm.
My first guess would be morning,
I agree. I would say that too.
just based off of how I
Yeah.
feel when I wake
Mhm.
up, you know?
Yeah.
But let's see what everyone else has to say.
Mhm.
And while everyone does that, Brother Brian, we wanted to ask you, how can someone differentiate between seasonal allergies, a cold, and the flu?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So when I served my time in family medicine, a lot of patients in primary care typically come in and thinking they have something like very extreme, but it just comes to a point where it's just maybe it's just allergies.
Mhm.
But it's definitely important to distinguish the three: allergies, the cold, and the flu. And believe it or not, just some background, 1 in 3 adults in the United States actually have allergies, and 1 in 4 children in the US. So something from the American Academy of Allergy and Immunology. So
It's a lot
everything
more
we,
common than I
yeah,
thought.
it's
Yeah.
and everything discussed here, of course, everything is all evidence-based, but then of course you should consult your own physician, because this is not meant for giving you medical advice per se, but just to be knowledgeable on things. So I guess to start off on distinguishing the three is to pretty much understand what the symptoms are and what the triggers are and the different managements to it. So I distinguish that.
Yeah.
So to start off with allergies, so typically, we would have those symptoms of like having a runny nose, a stuffy nose, or just feeling itchy, because there's different ways people react when it comes to experiencing allergies. Some people have chronic allergies, meaning they just have it throughout their whole life, and they just have to have different ways to manage them. But typically you wouldn't really have super duper body aches or having high grade fevers per se.
Yeah.
But typically when you're exposed to a trigger, or if you know that being outside actually makes me sneeze a lot, or actually touching this material makes me kind of itchy, so that's kind of one way to kind of figure out and see, okay, maybe it's just allergies, but you typically need further testing just in case, or to rule out, especially if you're in a clinic or whatever. But just in general, like outside, just everyday life, you typically don't need to go to an emergency department, unless your throat is swelling or whatever.
Right.
And then when it comes to the common cold, so typically the common cold, typically is caused by certain viruses, so like respiratory syncytial virus or parainfluenza. You can get nitty gritty, but the common term, common cold. So it's when you have those similar symptoms, right? But you don't typically have a super high grade fever. But one of the differences is like you might have some discomfort, like maybe in your chest, because of all the mucus, or any respiratory symptoms that you might experience. Might be hard to breathe at times. You can also have, some cases like having some aches as well, but typically mild, where people can handle it and just manage it with just symptomatic treatment, like just, over-the-counter remedies or herbal remedies, or just right in and out. And then when it comes to the flu, so that one comes a little more serious, right?
Yeah.
So typically the influenza virus, typically when, we, get vaccinated every year per se, but some symptoms that kind of distinguish that one between the other two is the high grade fever. So 100 to 102, even higher than that. So that's definitely one of the red flags. You'll definitely have some body aches. So you're hurting all over for what's some odd reason. But, so those are kind of the telltale signs. And usually at the clinic, we would do like a test just to determine like, oh yeah, you're positive for the flu. But most importantly, kind of wash your hands, maintain proper hygiene, because you can contaminate and kind of infect other people, and you don't want that, right? Especially to your loved ones with a poor immune system, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, all three, they can kind of be confused, because they people might experience stuffy nose, runny nose at the same time, some mild headaches. So it just depends. So, but
Gotcha.
it's better to be safe than sorry, right?
Very true. And like you said, if someone suspects that they do have allergies, what's the best way to go about it? You mentioned probably visiting their primary care doctor, probably. Would you recommend that to be the first step for someone who let me apply it to myself because
Yeah,
at this
sure.
stage in my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
I am an adult. I
Yeah.
am
Free
in my
consultation.
20s.
Yeah.
That's what this is
Might have
today.
to send you the bill afterwards.
We'll talk about it. Up until like the last year or two of my life, I hadn't experienced any allergies, like
Mhm.
seasonal allergies to anything.
Mhm.
But in the past year or so, I've noticed I've become more sensitive to things.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, in the morning, sometimes I feel stuffy or congested.
Mhm.
Exactly. So that makes me suspect that I now have allergies at this
Mhm.
point in my life. But I I haven't dealt with this before. So
Mhm.
what would you recommend for me as the next step to handle this?
Yeah, that's an excellent question because some people come in their, late teens or even their adulthood and experiencing like, oh, I never had this before, but how come it's happening now? So there's a phenomenon where people just become a little more sensitive to certain triggers or certain things that kind of float around or
Yeah.
they're exposed to. And it's just because there's a molecule in your body, they're histamines, which are just pretty much proteins that kind of tell your body, hey, this shouldn't be in my body. Let me react to it. It's gonna signal other cells. I'm gonna attack it. So also a good sign that you have a healthy immune system. Some people might have a underlying condition, but typically, you don't really see those as often. Maybe rare, but it just cause them to react a certain way. Or if they're continuously exposed to a certain agent and then over time their body just has like a defense mechanism and that's why you're experiencing this late on in life. So I guess in terms of advice for someone who's just experiencing it, so like you, if it's not a red flag symptom or if it's like not an emergency where you're, oh man, like I just feel like I'm just gonna die or pass out. I probably wouldn't go to a emergency department or anything like that. But if you're concerned because it's been ongoing for a certain while, it's bothering your everyday life, quality of life, definitely go visit your primary care. But if you notice that if you're exposed to certain triggers like pollen or dust outside, then it's just you're aware. You know your own body because you're aware 24/7 because that's you're your own body.
That's my body.
So it's kind of some advice I'd say. Yeah.
All right. For sure. I like that. Thank you very much for sharing. Do you have allergies?
I'd say back in the day, I would get a little bit sensitive to certain like dirt or like kind of grass and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
grass.
nowadays, I think the typical dust or if it's like a not so clean room, I guess you'd say, I'd probably react to that.
Okay.
Yeah. And that kind of reminds me, believe it or not, with people who have other triggers, like if they have asthma. So I have childhood asthma. So they're more prone. Y'all are more prone to have reactions or allergies with other things because your body's just kind of tuned to react to certain triggers.
Yeah, so actually there's a lot of comments coming in today. So from our first question of the day, people are saying morning, and I believe that's correct, right?
Yeah, it is morning. Yeah, I know some people tuning in from all over the world, so it might be like 2 a.m. Or...
Yeah, they might be having allergies right now.
Right now, as we speak.
Sneezing as they're commenting. All right, that's good to know. I'll have to remember that. Also, some more comments from Merle.
I think Merle.
She says, Sister Terry, I think it depends where you are. Maybe that's in response to the question.
Wow, we have from Zoe, Pogi Doctor. Pogi means handsome.
Is that a special someone?
So sweet. Yeah, that's my special someone from abroad. Yeah.
That's sweet. Thank you for tuning in.
Tuning in from New York. Right
wow,
now.
Nice.
We got people from all over here.
Wow.
Very cool.
I know some from the Philippines too.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Also from Erwin Prado, I used to be congested all the time as a kid. Then antihistamines became my best friend. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we definitely are.
Yeah.
We have another comment from Al. Says, good morning, everyone. Hello, National City.
Hello. Also from Sister Mitzi, Janine Dela Cruz. Good morning to all brethren around the world, viewing from the local congregation of National City.
Nice.
I represent.
Yeah.
From Erwin Prado. Hello, po from Bay Area, California.
Hello. And also one more for now from Mary Guevara. Good morning, SDC. I wish everyone a blessed day. She's tuning in from National City. Love it. Do you want to maybe ask the live chat another question?
Yes. For those watching with us, which device removes allergens from the air? A, humidifier, B, air purifier, or C, fan?
That's a good one. Whatever
Yeah.
the answer is,
That's the right answer.
I need to get one.
Yes, you do.
Buy one immediately.
Uh-huh.
And while everyone tries to answer that trivia question, Brother Brian, passing it back onto you, what is the best way to reduce pollen exposure during allergy season?
Yeah, it's a great question, especially here in the Western Hemisphere in the United States. We're here in West Coast in California, so it's nice and breezy out here. But we also
Very
have
nice.
some flower fields out in if you go hiking, or there's a lot of wilderness around the areas, different types of sceneries here.
Right.
So I guess some of the ways to combat this and prevent the pollen exposure, for number one, I guess a little more obvious, is try to avoid the pollen, right? So I mean, if you're outside frequently,
Yeah.
especially in a place with a lot of plants or trees or flowers, and you tend to react to those. Some ways you could wear protective covering if you're breathing in those little particles that that triggers your allergies, or just kind of stay away from those areas. Another way is, like, if you're living in an area, your home, and your windows are typically open, I probably reconsider, like, if it's a windy day, you want to kind of shut the door, shut the window, not let the breeze go in. Also, just being mindful, especially with your hobbies, if you're gardening or out mowing the lawn. So those are some ways to kind of prevent that exposure as well.
Okay.
So I know some parts of the world, they typically don't have wind as often, but not just pollen, like, it could even be dust. If like, I just came back from the Philippines a couple days ago, so I'm a bit jet lagged right now. But then this is kind of normal, because typically I drink like 5 cups of coffee a day, and
Wow.
I have to stay awake. But I'm here, I'm present here to educate.
are.
But those are some ways to help prevent that pollen exposure.
Got it. All right. So maybe for some of us who have these allergies, we do have to make some lifestyle changes.
Yes.
I know my family, we're kind of big on the windows thing that you mentioned, because, like, when it gets cooler, especially during the hotter months, right? When it gets cooler, you want to let in the cool air.
Yeah.
But I think that's letting in the dust and
the pollen.
So maybe we need to re-strategize how we're going to handle that.
I definitely feel a lot more congested at the office, at work. So that's a reminder for me to dust off
my everything.
desk. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe some of us need to do some spring cleaning.
Yes.
Spring cleaning, or even have a air purifier.
Yes.
Fire.
It's like, I think that's the right answer to our question from earlier, right?
I wouldn't turn the fan on if it's a little dirty or dusty in the room.
Right.
Agreed.
That would just spread the dust.
Yeah, spread the love too.
If anyone is looking for a good air purifier, do you have one that you would recommend? One that we should try to look for with a feature?
Nowadays, anything pretty much that has a HEPA filter, so it's like those high efficiency,
Noted.
filtering. I forgot what the P stands for, but it's one of those filters, right?
HEPA.
So they implement those in, like, planes, or nowadays in certain office buildings, or even businesses. They kind of implement that in their air conditioning as well. So it's something to consider.
Okay.
Might be kind of tough to figure out, like, paying for like a high tech, or you don't really need a super fancy one, but something just generally just to help purify the air, because sometimes it can be a little stuffy. But I guess first things first, maybe clean the room a bit.
Agreed.
First step. I like it. Thank you for that advice. Very valuable reminders too. Jumping back to the live chat, let's see what everyone else has been saying. We have a comment from Love Co. Happy birthday, Sister Tracy.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Tracy.
From Sister Remedios Kakpal. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Also from Ramon Macahilas, very informative. I agree.
From Sister Melda Catalasan. Hi, Doctor. Dr. Brian still remember when he's still young.
Aww. Also from Levita de la Paz. Good morning, SCC. Good morning to you as well.
And lastly, for those tuning in with us, we have one last question. What spreads indoor allergens? We kind of talked about this earlier, right? A, houseplants, B, ceiling fans, or C, carpet?
the one that moves.
The one that
probably.
moves.
Only one that moves.
I would probably say so if you're phrasing it how it spreads.
Yeah.
The
I feel
one
like
that
I'm going
moves.
back to
Using my brain.
Yeah.
I think I can figure that out.
Yeah.
Let's see what everyone else says.
Yeah.
And starting to wrap up our conversation with you, Brother Brian,
Mm-hmm.
we also wanted to ask, are there any lifestyle changes that can minimize allergic reactions?
Yeah, it's a great question as well. Yeah, I feel like I'm going back to my practicals with all these questions and board exams, but it's never ending, right?
Yeah.
But happy to share that. So in order to minimize these allergic reactions, some lifestyle changes. So like I mentioned in the past, where you can just modify like how you live your life, especially your hobbies. If you tend to garden or mow the lawn, maybe have somebody else do it, or if you wear protective covering. Some where you just have to figure out the setting that you're in. But most importantly, for lifestyle changes, so some people use certain remedies. It doesn't mean you have to go straight into prescription medications or anything like that. But some people rely on some over-the-counters. Like if you just need some relief, just seasonally, that's it's typically fine. So some people, I think in the live chat they mentioned antihistamines, right? So like I mentioned, that histamine kind of tells some cells in your body, say, hey, this is triggering my body, like I have to react to it. But the antihistamines is kind of like toning it down a bit, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely purchase those over the counters, or even some people use some steroid therapy, like where they're just chronically or over time, having allergies or reactions all year round, and they may have to rely on those, but typically are prescription based, right? Unless you use those topical creams, like if you're feeling itchy, then that's a different story. And then most importantly, the misconception with decongestants, I know some people use it. But the issue there is chronic use of a decongestant over time. I'd say probably like a week or two. Your body kind of gets used to it, so it's definitely not advised to use it over a prolonged period of time, especially the ones that you sniff in your nose. Those ones, they do provide temporary relief, but there's other interventions that you should take and in order to combat this, because over time, like it just won't be as effective, and then you'll just have worse stuffy nose. Some lifestyle changes as well. I guess per se is, if you tend to like exercise outside, typically I'd say, morning, but mostly afternoons is kind of when those pollen levels get high, because it gets a little windy. Going back to that first question. So it's kind of something to be wary about, is the setting and how you live everyday life, right? And also we mentioned cleaning, right? Spring cleaning. I know we had a talk last week about spring cleaning.
We did.
So,
Nice. All right. Good tips. Thank you so much for all of your advice.
Yeah, of
I think
course.
we'll all leave this show today with a little more knowledge and feeling a little bit more prepared on how we can tackle the struggles of allergies this season. Before we wrap up our discussion, let's read some final comments from those who are tuning in and engaging with our discussion. From Loveco, happy belated birthday, Sister Hazel Havate.
Oh, nice.
From NST.
From Sister Danilyn Flores, she says, hi, Lorraine. Hi, Ate.
Hello.
Also from Sister Phoebe, happy birthday, Brother Gemvaloria.
Happy birthday.
So many birthdays.
Yeah, a lot of birthdays in April.
Yeah.
I have some family abroad in the Philippines. We just celebrate their birthday in April too.
Oh,
So
nice.
I guess shout out to Chloe Manalili over there.
Aw, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, we love it. We love all of the birthday celebrants, especially those who are tuning in. And we also love having valuable discussions like this with you, Brother Brian. So thank you once again. Before we let you go, do you have any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, I've been traveling around the world actually for medical training. So met a lot of people. Want to shout out Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Also my family in the Philippines. I just came back this past week. Shout out my special someone in New York, Zoe. I got to shout out Zoe, of course. Also my family here in California, but I just recently came from New Orleans as well. So I got to shout out to the Kababayan, or the community over there. So in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, Louisiana as well. But there's a list going on and on, but
For sure.
so much to
shout out the world already. Why don't you?
and my special someone gave me this cool stethoscope engraved with my name too.
So neat.
Definitely appreciate it. So.
That is so cool. All right. Thank you so much, Brother Brian. Let's give it up for him one more time, everyone. Thank you so much. We will
Thanks
see
for
you
having me.
later. Thank you.
All right.
Alrighty.
Cool.
That was very.
That was informative. I learned a lot.
Gained so much knowledge. I know it's in here now, and now I will not struggle with my allergies as much. Lorraine,
Wow, you're a little too close to me, Taylor. What are we excited? Oh wait, we're not excited yet. What's that? We are excited.
We are
Very
excited.
excited for all the activities happening on,
On
the
the
horizon.
horizon.
Yes.
all right. Highlighting some past events and future ones. On April 12th, we had our In Center Stage CWS edition for the Children's Worship Service members. As you can see, the children in our district had a blast putting on some shows for everyone, some skits pertaining to Bible stories. So I know. Let's give a big shout out to all of the kids who are involved in this project.
Yay. And then upcoming May 9th, we have our monthly CMDPS health seminar, the importance of health screenings for the family via video conference, and reach out to your local CFO officers for more details.
Right on. Also, on April 26th and 27th, we have our Tagisa ng Talino per local congregation. What's the English term for this?
Bible quiz bee?
Bible quiz. Battle of the Brains.
Battle of the Brains.
Battle of the
Battle-
Brains, which is a Bible quiz,
yes,
like you said.
mhm.
So I think this is also for the children again. So let's see who's going to be involved in this.
Yay. And that's what's on the horizon for the San Diego Satellite Studio. Taylor, what are we excited for?
We're so excited for our local shout out challenge
Winners.
winners.
And in no particular order, here are the top 3 winners from last week's challenge.
We have the local congregation of
North San Diego! Local congregation of Temecula Valley!
and the local congregation of
Vista!
Congratulations to our top 3. You still have a chance to help your local congregation be part of the top 3 next week. So comments away. But before we wrap up our entire show today, as we know, here in San Diego, there are so many beautiful places to visit and faces to see and food to eat. So today on Into Sunny San Diego, we're going to be highlighting a yummy treat that is so popular here in San Diego. Some of you may know it as the fishy ice cream. That's how I know it. The fishy soft serve ice cream, or abong as it's more properly known.
I believe it's also called bunjopang with soft serve or carp bread. So it's a fish-shaped pastry stuffed with sweetened red bean paste, which originated from Japanese taiyaki.
Taiyaki.
One of South Korea's most popular winter street foods, the snack is often sold at street stalls, grilled on an appliance similar to a waffle iron, but with a fish-shaped mold. Red bean paste is the standard filling, but many bunjopang sold as street food are filled with pastry cream,
Yum.
as what it's called in South Korea. I don't know how to pronounce that.
I'm not going to try.
Yeah, sweet potato, pizza toppings, chocolate, kimchi, and others.
Pizza topping.
I've actually tried the cheese-filled.
Ooh,
Yeah,
a
it's
savory
basically
form.
like grilled cheese, but fish form.
Fish form. Yum.
Yum,
I can
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
that. One of my favorite fillings for this is probably chocolate hazelnut spread.
Yum.
That
I like
one's so
Oreo
good.
too.
Oreo?
Mm-hmm. With soft serve.
Yes.
Yummy.
So yummy. I think I need to go visit one of these places.
Not
sponsored by
of
any of
course,
these,
yeah.
by the way.
Mhm.
But I know that's a very popular. These are some popular toppings.
yeah.
I like the crumbly chocolate bar toppings too,
I don't know what that is.
like the peanutty.
Oh yeah,
chocolatey
yeah,
candy.
yeah.
Those are
So
that one's another
delish.
good one on soft serve, especially. Ooh, and
Yeah.
cereal.
Okay.
There's
What
cereal as
flavor
an
of
option.
ice cream do you
Ube,
like? Ube.
like that one.
I like just milk and cookies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, milk and cookies.
classic.
Yeah,
Very
matcha
simple.
is pretty good too.
Mhm. There's one that does a Thai tea flavor that I really like.
Oh, yum.
I like it when places get real creative with it.
Wow, look at that.
And some people like just the fish.
Yeah,
like
just the
no
fish.
ice cream needed.
But with paste, with filling, of course.
With the
right?
filling.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yummy, crunchy, and wow, look at that. That's my favorite.
Ooh, Yeah.
favorite. Exactly
that's
that.
Stuffed with a cookie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
I could go for one of those. I like how it's like
Oh, you
crispy
can
on
see the
outside.
heat. You can see how warm it is. It's straight from the
Straight from the grill.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm gonna have to visit this place.
Like
Looks
right
very
now.
cute. Right now.
Right now.
I'm leaving right now. to
Right
go
now.
Try
That is
it.
why the show is done.
So that we can go get fishy ice cream.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for our show today, everyone. We hope you had a blast. I know we did, and we hope you gained some valuable information from our discussion. Before we go, we would like to greet and thank the following individuals who helped make INCRadio San Diego possible. Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our Executive Minister, Brother Angelo Aranio Manalo, our CEBSI President, Brother Wally Taray, our INCRadio Station Manager.
Brother Matthew Capistrano, our Supervising Minister of SDC, Brother Alex Oñate, our Assistant Supervising Minister of SDC, and Brother Christian Ko, our District Multimedia Advisor.
We also have one more quick comment here from Jeb Barrientos. Greetings, INCRadio San Diego, tuning in from the INCRadio Orange County, California studio at the local congregation of Anaheim, cleaning up from our broadcast.
And that's over for us. Up next, INCRadio Sacramento.
Yes.
And stay tuned. Next week, we have a good topic, right?
Yes, related to CFO cares. We're going to be talking about how we can be stronger together.
Nice.
All right. Until next time, everyone, goodbye. Stay safe, and we will catch you on the next
Wave.
Come on up here, Mr. Dr. Man.
Hey.
There you go. See, we also like to do like motionless. There you go.
Okay.
Those guys. Bye, everyone.
Waving on.